Hello, my name is Jennifer Amick, and today I'm going to be speaking on global climate change. Now, did you know that 20% of our planet's plants and animals will likely be facing extinction by 2050? And this is due to global climate change. Greenhouse gases have had detrimental impacts on our planet's health, and these are irreversible. Now, according to Feldman and his colleagues, we've studied climate change scientifically through the years, and this really refers to the long changing shifts regarding the planet's weather patterns and also temperatures. And according to NASA, we're already experiencing these changes at a very massive rate. That includes weather patterns, rising sea levels, melting ice, and glaciers. Now, global climate change is not just an issue of the future. This is something that's impacting us today. And then particularly the use of greenhouse gases by humans has impacted the planet in immense ways. We're able to study this through patterns of human migration. This is a threat not only to a planet, but also to the inhabitants of our planet. Now, today we're going to be talking about how climate change is altering the planet, but also hopefully things we can do to mitigate the risk in the future. So let's first understand climate change as a whole. So according to Huffman and his colleagues, the greenhouse gas effect is where the planet's atmospheric gases trap major amounts of the heat that come in and out of the planet. 80% of the energy of heat is trapped. Now, global warming is a result of the enhanced greenhouse gas effect. Now, some gases are naturally occurring, while some are produced really heavily due to human actions. Now, according to Huffman and his colleagues, the main greenhouse gases that contribute to this are carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. Fossil fuels are also responsible for most of the greenhouse gas emissions across the planet, and this totals over about 75%. We're talking about coal, petroleum, natural gas in particular here. And fossil fuels are really combustible substances that are derived from prehistoric organisms, according to Huffman. The concentrations of these substances and greenhouse gases have been studied over time. So, for example, the study of the Vostok ice core, that shows a concentration of atmospheric carbon dioxide that's now 100 parts per million. That's higher than any point in the last million years, and that's huge. Now that I've told you about the main causes of the climate change, I'm going to share with you the impact of climate change that it's had on our planet. So according to NASA, the changes in weather patterns, and that includes droughts, wildfires, extreme rainfall, those are happening at an even faster pace than we previously imagined. So since the 1980s, we've seen hurricanes increase intensity over the North Atlantic, but just be more frequent in general. We also predict that droughts will become less frequent and more frequent in some areas, but also seasons are trending to become even hotter. Wildfire seasons have extended. That has been due to climate change. And according to NASA, the amount of land consumed by wildfires in the western states is projected to further increase 2 to 6 times. Fires also cause additional health hazards. Precipitation patterns have shifted, and NASA indicates the recent trend towards increased heavy precipitation will continue. Some areas are experiencing a ton of precipitation, while others are experiencing very little. Global sea levels will also increase, and they have already increased by 8 inches since 1880. Now, there are countries that will likely be completely underwater with a plus 2 degrees Celsius increase. Some of those include the Maldives and Kiribati. Those are very low elevation areas. But when we think about a huge global impact, even China is experiencing issues with their coastal ecosystems due to rising sea levels. Melting ice and glaciers are also another effect of global climate change. The sea and ice cover in the Arctic, that's continually decreasing. We're seeing the loss of sea ice, melting glaciers, and this has a really major shift in plant and animal geographic ranges. So now that we understand the main effects of global climate change, we're going to learn about some of the ways that hopefully we can combat this issue. So how can we change this trajectory in a more positive way? Well, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, this is a body of the United Nations. This is known as the IPCC. They were created to assess scientific evidence related to the study of climate change. And this helps us from a couple perspectives. We can understand better climate change from a scientific standpoint, but we also know rates, future risks, what options. We can help also advise nations who are a part of the United Nations on global climate change. Now, according to Feldman and his colleagues, the Kyoto Protocol was also established that was hopefully to reduce and stabilize the effects of greenhouse gases. Cap and trade systems have been utilized, which have helped mitigate some risk, but also lessening production in meat and dairy industries, that will also reduce greenhouse gases as a whole. So meat and dairy products, they contribute to the climate crisis because there's a great amount of greenhouse gases that are produced from producing these items. Now, we're talking about methane in particular, which is produced from processing some meats, but also from manure storage. Minimizing meat production can reduce greenhouse gases, but also we can utilize other systems, such as combating the large amounts of carbon dioxide that are produced through textiles. And we can reduce, reuse, repair, and recycle to reduce this risk. Overall, ending the reliance on fossil fuels and continuing to invest in more renewable energy sources is really going to also help mitigate the risk and reduce greenhouse gas effects on climate change. So we've learned a lot about how greenhouse gases have contributed to climate change and also the effects of climate change. We've also learned about the actions being taken to hopefully mitigate risk, or actions that we could hopefully take to mitigate that risk. So we know global warming is a result of the enhanced greenhouse gas effect. There has been a rise in global temperatures because of this. Fossil fuels are responsible for most of those greenhouse gas emissions. And global climate change encompasses the many effects of fossil fuels on greenhouse gases on our planet, including weather pattern change, severe storms, extreme rainfalls, changes in precipitation, sea level increase, and melting of ice. Now, the IPCC was created to assess that scientific evidence related to the study of climate change, and that's really helping various nations regarding climate change and be able to provide information, but also really help with climate change initiatives. Now, we can all do our part with climate change. We can advocate for pro-climate legislation. We can reuse, recycle, and consume less meat and dairy products. If we can reduce emissions, we can avoid some of the more detrimental effects to come. Thank you so much.